Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Happy Wednesday, everybody. The outbreak situation has worsened in China in recent days. With the strict implementation of zero COVID, the economic shocks are already reverberating through the system. Yesterday, local cases were reported in Anhui Province, Shanxi Province, the Beijing Municipality, the Shanghai Municipality, Shandong Province, and Guangdong Province. Even state media admits that the Anhui outbreak is posing novel difficulties. Quote, located at a transportation junction in northeastern Anhui with a population of 700,000 and serving as a migrant labor provider to neighboring Jiangsu Province, the impact of the latest outbreak quickly expanded outside the county to other important locations in the Yangtze Delta regions, such as Wuxi in Jiangsu and Yiwu in Zhejiang Province. End quote. Starting today, Wednesday, the ancient city of Xi'an, population 13 million, will suspend on-site dining at restaurants and all group gatherings, including religious activities. Entertainment, cultural and sports venues will close for a week, including internet cafes, KTVs, bars, chess rooms, cinemas, gyms, libraries, and museums, according to state media. A KTV is a popular karaoke-like lounge. Kindergartens and primary and middle schools will start the summer vacation ahead of schedule. These restrictions were announced after the discovery of 18 local COVID-19 cases over the 3 days Saturday through Monday. Perhaps most alarming for officials was the detection of the BA.5 variant. Beijing and Shanghai had been battling outbreaks caused by the earlier BA.2 and BA.22. The BA.5 subvariant is even more transmissible and spreads even more quickly than the BA.2. It also has an even stronger capability to escape vaccines, and China's domestic vaccines have proven to be relatively ineffective already. And then there is Shanghai. Yesterday, Tuesday, less than 10 days after the city's party secretary declared victory over the virus, the city government announced on its official WeChat account that all residents in 9 of the city's 16 districts would be tested twice from Tuesday through Thursday of this week. The testing is needed because multiple COVID infections found this week were linked to a KTV, again a type of karaoke lounge popular in China. People living in the affected districts would be required to show a test taken within the last 48 hours in order to leave their homes. Next up, US-China. But first, if you're enjoying the content, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. It's a huge help. And as always, anyone who wants to go the extra mile and help keep China Updates sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. This is a wonderful way to help me keep making these episodes. As always, thank you so much, everybody, for all the support. Several US media outlets are reporting that the Biden administration is preparing to remove some tariffs from Chinese goods in the near future. There has been much debate within the White House over removing the Trump-era tariffs. US outlet Politico writes that a narrow set of tariffs would be lifted, likely duties on consumer goods, and that the list of products is still under discussion. Two of the outlet's sources said the value is expected to be relatively small, with $10 billion worth of imports out of roughly $370 billion imposed during the Trump administration. The White House is expected to announce that the US Trade Representative will open a new exclusion process for companies to win exemptions from the tariffs on China. Yesterday, US Secretary of the Treasury Janet L. Yellen held a virtual meeting with People's Republic of China Vice Premier Liu He, discussing, quote, macroeconomic and financial developments in the United States and China, the global economic outlook amid rising commodity prices and food security challenges. End quote. According to the US readout, Chinese state media writes that tariffs on China were also discussed in the conversation. Meanwhile, the technology war is heating up between the US and China. Bloomberg reports yesterday that the US is pushing the Netherlands to ban ASML Holdings NV from selling to China mainstream technology essential in making a large chunk of the world's semiconductors. According to Bloomberg sources, American officials are lobbying their Dutch counterparts to bar ASML from selling some of the DUV systems, machines which are a generation behind cutting edge, but still the most common method in making certain less advanced chips required by cars, phones, and computers. Next up, Hong Kong. Yesterday, Tuesday, the trial of 5 speech therapists arrested almost 1 year ago and accused of conspiracy to print, publish, distribute, display, and/or reproduce seditious publications began at a district court in Hong Kong. The publication in question is 3 children's books published in Hong Kong depicting the conflicts between sheep and wolves, which, prosecutors argue, incite separatism and hatred towards mainland China. Quote, "The books effectively installed into readers separatism, tribalism, and betrayal of their country, resulting in the loss of national identity, as well as damage to Chinese sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the long-term stability of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region." End quote. Hong Kong media is following the case and its implications for speech rights in the new age of the national security law very closely. Quote, "Published between June 2020 and March 2021, the book series focuses on the struggles between a village of sheep and a group of intruding wolves. The first book recounts the flock having to defend their homes following the departure of the shepherd, whom prosecutors said referred to the British government. Prosecution argued association could easily be drawn to equate the sheep with Hong Kong and wolves with China." End quote. Though the offence, sedition, is a colonial-era offence, very rarely used in the past, it has been folded into the national security law passed by Beijing in 2020, meaning prosecutors can request their complaints be heard by a special arbiter. The defence will argue that the books were not intended to instigate violence or public disorder. The trial is expected to last 5 days. Last up, the Chinese economy, and we're specifically looking at government revenue and the effect it's had on the salaries of government workers. As we have discussed in previous videos, the housing crisis has caused plunging sales of land use rights, which are the largest source of non-tax revenue for local governments across the country. This, combined with zero-COVID policy rollout, is deeply hurting local government budgets. We are starting to get a better idea of just how bad this damage to extra budgetary revenue has been. This week, brokerage China Industrial Securities Co. Limited published a report which found that in the first half of this year, 2022, local governments sold 1.4 trillion RMB, approximately $211 billion in parcels of land for building housing, down a massive 55% year-on-year. Desperate local officials have cut costs where possible, and one major cut has been to the salaries of hundreds of thousands of public sector workers. According to Chinese financial outlet Caixin Media, a civil servant's annual income consists of 12 months' salaries, allowances, subsidies, and bonuses. But since January this year, quote, authorities in several provinces, including Guangdong, Zhejiang, and Jiangsu, asked local state-owned and state-backed institutions to stop paying year-end special bonuses and allowances. End quote. 2 civil servants in Shenzhen and a city in Jiangsu expressed to the outlet that they expected their respective annual incomes to drop by more than 20 and 25%. One person speaking to the outlet from Ningbo expressed that he expects a 40% reduction in his annual income. The cuts are only expected to have modest effects on improving the fiscal health of local governments, however. And economists have pointed out that reducing the salaries of hundreds of thousands of people across the country will likely further exacerbate the issue of weak demand policymakers are desperately trying to stimulate in order to stabilize the national economy. Okay, that is today's episode. As always, thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.